Good morning, everyone. This is Luda Kopikina with GAI Insights. Welcome to Daily AI News Review, where we mark the news essential, important, and optional to save you time. Today, we have John Ankaj and a wonderful guest, Vivek Mukherjee, who is with Pfizer, and he is bridging Gen AI and medical practitioners. So he's an engagement lead, and this is a fun job. I watch your posts, Vivek, and they're fascinating on various topics and medical topics. So welcome.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Great. So let's start with the first article, Ankaj.
Sure, thanks, Luda. So the first one that we have for today comes from OpenAI. OpenAI has introduced projects, which is an easy way to organize chats that share topics or context in their 4O models.
Yeah, it popped up in my chat GPT and I tried it. It's a neat feature, but what do you think about it, John?
Yeah, I was going to give this an optional. We have a market-leading firm here doing a Me Too kind of capability. I think that organizing projects and so forth. Yes, that's great. In a certain way, we've got these models starting to rebuild basic capabilities around their core. It kind of reminds me of when the first Office suites first came out, right? First you had the spreadsheet, and then you started to build all this other stuff around it, and then it's. So I would say optional, not breakthrough capability, important vendor, just kind of par for the course.
Yeah, they're still on their 12-day announcements.
Yeah, and I just hate, it must be working for them because they're doing it, but I hate the format. I hate, the
I
way
agree.
goofy engineers trying to be cute. It's just like there's nothing about the way they're putting the stuff out there that I like, but whatever.
Okay, optional. What do you think, Vivek?
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a more of a consumer feature, not really for an AI leader, given that they are accessing ChatGPT through an API, most likely through one of the hyperscalers.
Yeah.
And this is just to John's point. It's a Me Too. It's a nice feature to have, but most folks won't even use this as
Okay.
a message.
Optional it is. Let's go next.
Okay, the next one that we have comes from Cohere, and it talks about their Command R7B model.
Yeah, it's another small model that performs actually well. If you scroll down, Ankash, it's at par and in some cases much better than competitors. What do you think, Vivek?
Yeah, no, this was interesting. Is another one I think we've talked about on this last week. P4 and other small models making a big splash, and I talked about how important they are as we go in the future. But I still gave this as an optional. This is just another one of these small models. I think what differentiates them is they have a large context window. It's very efficient. So again, if it's more we're not there yet where we're starting to incorporate small models into the workflows. But for those companies who are, that's great. But otherwise, I gave this an optional.
Okay, optional. John?
Yeah, I had it as optional as well. Look, it's comparing it. It'd be one thing if it was compared to the big models and so forth. It's comparing to other small models. It's kind of in the running. It's a super important trend. More and more small models, and combinations of small models and so forth, for lots of reasons. Efficiency, portability. Less cost in training, but optional.
Yeah. Yeah, and kudos to Cohere. They are staying in the lead, right? Along with others, with announcements, the new capabilities. They're really trying to be one of the leaders. So kudos to them. All right, but optional it is. Let's go next.
Okay, the next one comes from Meta. So Meta has introduced byte latent transformers, which patches scale better than tokens.
Yeah. Okay. This is a very technical paper. And let me try, and John and Vivek, please jump in. But it is for the developers and people watching the inference cost and what can happen with this field in general is, I think it's an important paper, but really so technical and so long, it's probably optional. But here's what happened here. So I think the step up in Meta, the latest models, is because they were, instead of tokens, they were reasoning in bytes. And this is a new method that organizes bytes in patches and makes it real time. So the size of patches can depend on what are you talking about. If it's a qualitative model or quantitative model, they can actually make bigger patches, and that's how they get the increase in inference by like 50%. And what they've shown in this paper that this type of model, if given a fixed cost budget, actually the model and patches scale at the same time, and the same level of inference efficiency is gained much sooner than the bigger models, than the tokenization models. So that's pretty much the paper. So it will step up the performance of future models if this innovation is used. So John, Vivek, please adjust, because I tried to summarize this as much as possible here.
Yeah, no, I think, I'm on the fence between optional and important. And the reason is that this is a significant move forward in terms of algorithmic innovation. And I think that's an appreciated piece of the dynamics here, because, I go back to Stephen Wolfram's quote that the transformer model, large language models, as we know them, are probably the biggest innovation in our understanding of human language since Aristotle and Socrates, and Socrates really, kind of laying out the structure of logic. I think this notion of putting a compute where the entropy is in language patterns is kind of I think it's just the beginning of a whole vector of activity. It's going to be, okay, now we're starting to think about where compute can discover semantics. You know what I mean? And the simplistic analogy I have in my mind is you're basically moving the drill bit where the ore is better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
And so I think that's a very getting our AI leader to really pay attention to algorithmic innovation, I think, is a big deal.
Yeah. Okay, I can back importance. Vivek, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I was on the fence as well, but with John's, I think understanding from AI leader's perspective, the paradigm shifts are going on. And I think the one thing I did like about this model, it's better at looking at characters that are not native, because there's a lot of language that's in English, but it is a much better, more multilingual model. So that can have big ramifications.
I'm sorry, Vivek, finish. I'm sorry.
No, that's it. I would say important.
Ankaj, if you can click the article and go to the first graph where it shows the advancement, I think in the trials, right? See that line, the vertical line. See on the right, it's way sooner. So it's that's the inference advancement step. And it will have a major impact. So let's rate it important. Okay, thanks. Next, Ankaj.
Okay, the next one that we have comes from Grok. So Grok is now available to everyone.
Interesting capabilities, right? What do you think about John? It added the visuals, the chat, and a lot of features.
Yeah, I was going to give this an essential for two reasons, really three. Like Grok is a latecomer, but really working hard at it. That goes behind them when you think about Colossus, the new supercomputer that they built, and they're going to double the size of that. And I think that X continues to generate tons of data that they can train on. That's the first thing. Second thing is the fact that it's faster. And the third thing is that, this is, it's cheaper, so faster, better, cheaper, big entrant, lost behind, catching up quickly. So that's going to give it an essential. I think our AI leader needs to know about this. And I know in a lot of the conversations we're having with our customers and our research clients that Grok isn't in the mix. And I think they have to start putting Grok in the mix.
I see. Okay, essential. What do you think about this, Vivek?
Yeah, no, I wasn't important given all the reasons that John mentioned. No, but I could be swayed just because there's an extra capability here, right? They have real-time information
Yes.
from X, and that if you're a developer or enterprise who are looking for news or sentiment analysis, they can get much better. There's no other model that comes even close. So I can be swayed into a essential, but it's still another model, and it's going to take a while before something like this gets incorporated into workflows and organizations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. And the only thing that I noticed that I'm not sure the AI leaders will jump on this bandwagon yet, because it's kind of it stresses that the guardrails are not quite there, and that's by design, I think.
Yes.
So it's but it is a runner, right?
Well, the thing that amazes me is just the raw power of these, big companies. I mean, Elon Musk a year ago or a little less, got on stage and literally told his big advertisers to F off in as many words. I mean, just pause on that for a minute. Disney, F off. JP Morgan, F off. And Disney has gone back hat in hand to now advertise back on Grok. That to me is raw market power. That's like, the French king just hanging and drawing a quarter to somebody right in front of everybody just to make a point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's mark it as essential. All right. Let's proceed. Ankash, please.
Okay, the next one comes from Google, and they are introducing Google Agent Space, and they are bringing AI agents and AI-powered search to enterprises through this offering.
Yeah, this is a cool announcement. Vivek, what do you think?
Yeah, a bit controversial, but I think I gave this as an optional. This is a catch up, right? We know most organizations, majority of them are sort of Microsoft shops, and Copilot has had these capabilities for 2 years now. If you had a Copilot account in business, so it is a catch up, but it is Google. They have a lot of technology that they're incorporating into their AI and adding a lot of AI features just over the last couple of weeks. But they're not all features that are available similar to, they're not on par compared to Power Automate or Copilot Studio. So I think there's still a lot of work to be done before they can compete in this space. And so I think this announcement is great, but it's not there yet.
Okay. I personally was important because it's like I hear a lot of enterprises are looking at Copilot versus Gemini versus Google to become their platform. And so for many AI leaders, this might be an important integration step on the Google side because they cover the spectrum. But you're right, there's lots of features that Microsoft perfected and Google has not. What do you think about this, John?
Yeah, I was where you are, Luda. If it were anybody but Google or maybe OpenAI, I wouldn't care so much, or Grok. I wouldn't care so much. It'd be optional, but for me, here's a leader catching up. Plus, there are certain features like that, ability to generate podcasts and so forth are just so spectacular. So I was going to give it an important.
Yeah, I can buy that. It's just the next one I was much more bullish on. So yeah,
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay, all right. Let's give it an important for integration capabilities and advancing the platform. All right, let's go next. Ankash, please.
Okay, the next one talks about NotebookLM, a very successful sort of offering from Google on how it is getting a new look, audio interactivity, and a premium version.
Vivek, this is where I was going optional. It's a cool, But I'd love to hear your
Yeah.
insight, because yes, Notebook is capturing attention and people love it. I experimented with it. I didn't use this feature. So this announcement, you can actually interrupt the hosts and say, how about this question? And how about that question? My original experimentation, they were not necessarily, you try to tell them what you want them to focus on and they don't, and not necessarily. And this is a feature to bring them back. And this is great, but it's probably needs to be tested in the market. That's why I was thinking optional. But Vivek, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think this is one of the very differentiating features that no other provider right now, other than 11 Labs, has just started to introduce this. But I think Google's already leaped them again by providing this talk to the host feature, where you have your knowledge base, and then anyone can have a discussion with the host while they're having a podcast. I think that was fantastic. But why I give this an important is because I've used this personally in an organization where before NotebookLM came out, I used to generate podcasts from a PDF file using ChatGPT and then using 11 Lab to convert it into a podcast type audio, which then I can distribute it to my cross-functional partners, and they don't need to read the paper anymore because I've done that for them, make sure it's accurate. And it's a great way for training, onboarding, internal communication. So there's a lot of specific applications. So this is because it's application driven versus having just a knowledge base like the previous paper, previous article. That's why I gave this more of an important.
I see. And this is a really cool point for you are in the communication spot as a bridge between medical and tech, right? And so this type of capability obviously is critical, actually. So what do you think about this, John?
Yeah, I give it important. I mean, should we consider essential? I mean, this ability to go across modalities, I think, is really important. I think if I think of two dimensions that, well, let's think about 2025 for a minute. I think there's going to be three dimensions that are going to be more and more vital. One is this whole notion of multiple experts, multiple models, and so forth. Right, that's going to continue to grow and complexify. The second one, I think, is going to be multimodality. I'm in one mode. Hey, I'm speaking to the machine. It can do PowerPoint. I throw in a PowerPoint. I can do a podcast. I mean, I think we're going to have that. And then the third thing is agency and interrupt points. Can I interrupt? Can I go back in time? Can I say, hey, look, when this comes up, say this, right? So I think the control of time, the expansion of models and semantics, and the expansion of modes are going to be at least three of the big innovation vectors in 2025. And this I think deals with at least two of those.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, and I agree with John, and I think there's another point here, right? So we talk about just normal folks using generative AI, and this is a great way. You don't need to understand data analytics, data science, and just using voice, you can get data out of. And that, to John's point, I think that's the next iteration where you don't need any of that information, any knowledge to get to that stage, and being able to talk to your data with voice. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what's interesting is that, and we'll get this in the next article, the big money is going to go from just thinking about trillion parameter models to these modalities. So I think that's going to, if you're the smartest, if you're the smartest person in the room at Google, right, this is the kind of stuff you're going to be working on.
Yeah. To bring it to ease of use, really. Yep. Okay. You convinced me, guys. I'm on. Let's do essential for that reason. Okay. Wonderful. Let's go next.
It's interesting. Liz notes that small companies are using NotebookLM. That's kind of cool. I can see that totally.
Yeah. And as I said, I was working. I don't know, Vivek, what your experience is. I was working on a particular article that I wanted metrics, and I asked the hosts or the NotebookLM to focus on metrics, like incoming and outgoing, the results, right? And they didn't. And so I tried again, and it didn't quite work. So now, if I can say, here's give me this result, what was the result, or whatever,
Exactly.
have a discussion, and that will be pulled out. Yeah.
Exactly. And think about like commutes, right? When you have sales reps in the field commuting to the customer,
Yeah.
you're preparing in the car while talking to this. So
Yeah. No, this is
fascinating
okay.
use cases.
Essential. All right. Next one, Ankash, please.
Okay, the last one that we have for today is a YouTube video by Ilya, which talks about sequence to sequence learning with neural networks.
Yeah, it's a talk at the recent conference for geeks. So it is it's kind of comparing where he was or where the industry was thinking 10 years ago and where it came to right now and projecting into the future. What did you think about this, John?
Yeah, I was thinking optional, maybe important. First, it's just he's so long-winded and the whole routine. Anyway, it's very kind of sloppy presentation. That's okay. So I don't think it's worth the time of doing it. The notion that scaling laws are different than they thought, pre-training is different. That agent-like behavior is going to be hard to figure out. I think these are pretty interesting things. The notion of super intelligence, is less so worry, seems like, which I think makes sense. I don't know. I guess I'd give it an important because he's just such an important thinker in this domain, but I didn't find anything in what he talked about particularly insightful.
Yeah, I was also on the optional side because he does talk about the super intelligence and even tries to put together the what will impact us getting to super intelligence, but there's no details and yeah, it sort of didn't look very well thought through. What did you think about this?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I didn't think there was any really interesting insights that all of you have not talked about for the last 5 months in terms of test and computes, reasoning models, and need for better data, agents. This is what's coming. The part about superintelligence, and I think he mentions that the new systems will be unpredictable, self-aware. I think that part I found interesting, but it's not. It's so nebulous right now. We don't know what that means in terms of. And then there's a chart in there talks about how the size of a species versus the brain, the weight of the brain. I think that's interesting. And what happens when we go beyond that with an LLM or with a Gen AI system or AI system? That I think it's fascinating where we get to super intelligence, but it was very early discussion.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like, Lucinda said, "Hey, look, interesting talk from a hindsight point of view." Absolutely, Lucinda, I agree. From one point of view, it's kind of an admission that a bunch of the promises that they said about AGI, superintelligence, all that other stuff didn't happen, right? And is unlikely to happen in the near term, and we have to go down a different vector. I actually, and so the Gary Marcuses and David Reeds of the world are going to be happy, because what I always thought were extraordinary claims, are not winning out. But I think what it misses is, I was trying to think of the analogy. Maybe it's containers and container ships. I mean, if you step back and you look at the impact of containers on the global economy, it's just unbelievable, right? Changed. We used to have 50,000 dock workers in New York. Now you got like 1,000, right? And never mind, all the other stuff. You look at the large language models. We're getting at the core of language storytelling and media, and understanding the semantics of everything that makes us human. This stuff we're doing right here, symbols and storytelling and interaction and so forth. So we're, for the first time, the transformer model really, took us another whole level in the operating system of humanity and commerce. And that is incredibly profound. I don't need superintelligence. I don't need all this other stuff, right? And so exploring the realms of that, I think, is the real story. And I don't think this does it. So anyway, I don't need the hype to have this be an incredible innovation and invention. And I think, as we talked about before, the dimensions of it are going to be fast moving in 25.
Yeah, we haven't seen anything yet. I think this innovation from Meta, it's a step up, and we see those step ups all the time. It's like you're right. You said we live in the times of magic. Everything is magical. It's fascinating.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think Wolfram's insight, not enough people kind of grok. This is the first we've been using language for God knows how long, right? 10,000 years, more, whatever, 100,000 years, and this is now not. And when I say language, I mean with a capital L. Every kind of simple system, mathematics, sound, music, animal speech, the whole routine, right? It's just nutty what we've gone into now, and we're just the beginning.
Yeah, and that's the excitement in his talk, even though he's kind of slow, is very apparent. Okay, let's mark it as optional. Ankaj, if you can bring up the scorecard for today.
Sure, Luda, coming right up.
If I'm not mistaken, we have 2 essentials, 2 important, and 3 optionals. And this is, hold on, where is it? This is for Monday, guys. This is, John, can you see that screen?
I can, just a second. Here.
Here we go. Okay, yes. 2 essentials, 2 importance, and 3 optionals. Thank you all very much. Oh, John, what's tonight for the Learning Lab?
I don't know, Luda. I'm sorry. But we will be having a Learning Lab at 7 to 8 Eastern tonight, Big Monday, as Lucinda said. And hope to see you all there. I think, anyway, I don't want to wing it. Anyway.
All right. Thank you all.
Thanks,
Special thank you, Ankaj. Special thank you for pulling those articles. Really appreciate it. Gives us something to talk about. That's wonderful. So, and Vivek, thanks for your insights. This was
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.